Get start. Okay. Hare Krishna. Welcome to the daily Bhagavatam reading session. We'll go through the Mangalacharan prayers and then we'll try to look into the verse. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Gnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Sri Visakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Krupa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, now today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, 5th chapter, 1st verse. So let's go through the verse. Let me share my screen so that you can look into the verse as well. Okay. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yes, Mathaji.
Okay. All right. Maitreya uvacha Bhavo bhavanyanidanam prajapater asatkritaya avagamya naradat swaparshada sainyam cha tad advararbhubir vidravitam krodam aparam adade. One more time. Bhavo bhavanyanidanam prajapater asatkritaya avagamya naradat swaparshada sainyam cha tad advararbhubir Vidravitam krodam aparam adade. Word to word. Maitreya uvacha. Maitreya said, Bhavaha, Lord Shiva, Bhavanyaha, of Sati, Nidhanam, the death, Prajapatehe, because of Prajapati Daksha. Asat Kritayaha, having been insulted. Avagamya, hearing about Naradat, from Narada. Swaparshada Sainyam, the soldiers of his own associates. Cha, and Tat Advara, produced from his Daksha's sacrifice. Ribhubihi, by the Ribhus. Vidravitam, were driven away. Krodham, anger, aparam, unbounded, adade, showed. Translation. Maitreya said, when Lord Shiva heard from Narada that Sati, his wife, was now dead because of Prajapati Daksha's insult to her, and that his soldiers had been driven away by the Ribu demigods, he became greatly angry. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, as I mentioned, we are starting a new chapter, which is, you know, the the chapter name is frustration of the sacrifice of Daksha. So, Mother Sati has just left her body due to the insult being done in at her maternal place by her own father, because of which she couldn't tolerate. She thought she would be able to convince her father about the greatness of Lord Shiva, but she couldn't do it. Instead, got insulted by her own father, Daksha Prajapati. So, since she couldn't tolerate the insult amongst her own kith and kin, she left her body. Now, let's look at the purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Lord Shiva understood that Sati, being the youngest of Daksha, could present the case of Lord Shiva's purity of purpose, and thus would be able to mitigate the misunderstanding between Daksha and himself. But such a compromise was not attained, and Sati was deliberately insulted by her father by not being received properly when she visited his house without being invited. Sati herself could have killed her father Daksha because she is the personified maternal energy and has immense power to kill and create within this material universe. In the Brahma Samhita, her strength is described. She is capable of creating and dissolving many universes. But although she is so powerful, she acts under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, as his shadow. It would not have been difficult for Sati to punish her father, but she thought that since she was his daughter, it was not proper for her to kill him. Thus, she decided to give up her own body, which she obtained from his, and Daksha did not even check her. When Sati passed away, giving up her body, the news was conveyed by Narada to Lord Shiva. Narada always carries the news of such events because he knows their importance. When Lord Shiva heard that his chaste wife Sati was dead, he naturally became exceedingly angry. He also understood that Bhrigu had created the Ribudeva demigods by uttering the mantras of the Yajurveda, and that these demigods have driven away all of his soldiers who were present in the arena of sacrifice. Therefore, he wanted to reply to this insult, and thus he decided to kill Daksha because he was the cause of the death of Sati. So, the context here is now that Sati has left her body, Lord Shiva becomes very angry listening to the news. And also this purport explains uh, Daksha's pride and ego, and because of which the destruction subsequently in the following verse, you'll see how he will be killed. But because of his pride and ego, how he refused to acknowledge his fault, even though Sati uh, came there for a reason, and in spite of considering his daughter, he could not acknowledge his fault. And even when she was leaving her body, he did not even um, he wished, show his attention. So because he thought he was mm, he because his false ego was so big that he did not want to acknowledge or recognize Sati. So because of which he thought Lord Shiva is a guy who is a person who lives in the cremation grounds, who has doesn't have any value, who's completely he's not of his stature. So because of which it becomes a setting scene for the following catastrophic consequences. So what happens here, because of his false ego, the actions driven were, Sati leaves her body, and then he asked Brigamani to create um, to create soldiers so that they can provide protection for the yajna that is being performed, because it is not a small yajna. Daksha Prajapati pretty much invites everybody on this planet for that yajna, and it's a huge event. And but he attends everybody except his own daughter. So, but then he asked Brigamuni to create the Bribhudeva demigods, and with the help of Yajurveda mantras, Brigamuni creates them, these demigods, and who, when Sati leaves her body, the Lord Shiva soldiers who came along with her, few of them, to kind of protect her, they were driven away by these powerful soldiers created. And um hearing this news, Lord Shiva becomes exceedingly angry. If we draw a parallel today, we see in the modern world, many when the decisions are made based on ego or based on pride, usually we, because of this pride, we become we tend to forget the principles of dharma, because we think that, oh, mine, I should be considered great, my decisions are great, no, and everybody is at fault. So because this kind of things will lead to only unsustainable or harmful decisions for, and especially if it is, if such kind of leaders we have, or such kind of higher up people we have, the decisions can cause more harm to the people under them. So another example is, because our consumerism, we I mean, we don't live according to the sustainability that mother earth or shastras prescribed, because we to live living a minimalistic living, minimal living and high thinking. So we don't follow that principle, rather we try to acquire lot of things, and we feel they are necessary even though they are not, you know um, and for which we try to work more harder to acquire money and all these things. So, and which, because of which we will not have a spiritually focused living. So our spiritual focus, when a person follows spiritually focused living, they will only consider, like, the bare minimalistic things to live. So that, but the main purpose is to focus on the devotional service. But when we carry or make decisions according to our false ego or pride, we want to, okay, okay, when it comes, okay, I'm in the midst of, let's say, 100 people. I should be looking the best. I should be considered the best. I should be, everybody should appreciate me only, not anybody else. um, I should have the most, whether it is wealth or anything else. So these kind of things, when kick in because of the pride. So when these things come, our purpose of our human life goes away. So, and our purpose is not to get attention to ourselves or being considered as great for ourselves, but rather, which becomes another sense gratification. But rather, our purpose of our human life should be spiritual realization, which Daksha Prajapati, even though he has been performing this huge sacrifice, and in the past he has performed so many, which it did not give him that kind of spiritual realization. So, and his decisions being away from the spirituality caused a huge destruction. In the subsequent verses you will see how Lord Shiva creates Rudra, and which causes to the destruction and ultimately the demise of Daksha Prajapati. We also see, another aspect that we see getting away, um, from um, spirituality, in one generation before to us, or two generations before to us, the main purpose, main avenue for our entertainment used to be the temple, where harikatha would happen, or some festival celebrations only would happen. That would be the main purpose of entertainment, not cinema houses, not some other entertainment where our self ego, or false ego pride is satisfied. So, I still remember when my grandparents are asked what they want to do, then every week they would say, "Oh, there is Harikatha in the temple. We want to go and sit there and hear." So that kind of, and so which will keep the people connected, even though through entertainment, it will it kept them connected to the Lord's pastimes, and spiritual, to their spiritual roots. But now, if we go out, it's whether it is in India or here, we are mostly influenced by the Western culture, which is not bad. But if it takes away from our spiritual purpose, then it's harmful. So, so Daksha Prajapati exactly is representing, he's a king, so he's exactly representing many of the leaders who don't follow dharma in the current world. And we are seeing so many wars, and so many, oh, I want to be the most powerful country, or I want to be the most, I want everybody to listen to me, and there are so many ego clash. We are seeing so many wars being happening uh, because of this kind of decisions being made. So, ultimately, from this verse, or from the lessons that Daksha Prajapati's life, we can see that, only when we get away from pride and ego, and only when we follow dharma, humility and spiritual knowledge, if we can take guidance, like, for example, we are reading Bhagavatam every day through this call, or reading Bhagavad Gita, or attending, I mean, taking the spiritual instructions from the spiritual master. we can have a proper society, a proper individuals, a guided society. Because if we don't do that, then there is no dharma in place. Oh, it's only going to lead to more chaos, more, and then ultimately the society is going to collapse, which is going to be harmful for everybody who's living on this. And and people will drift more and more from spirituality and become only slaves to the materialistic life. So those are some of the points that I got from this verse. Anybody would like to share anything or comment anything?
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Guru Gauranga. Very nice points made, Mataji, about how in the past everything, our lives kind of wrote, not mine, but our previous generation, their lives rotated around the temple, the worship. It was Krishna, God was in the center. But yeah, we've gotten so scattered in our thoughts and activities, and somehow Prabhupada has given us this way, and somehow we've all drifted towards it. So just so grateful, and thank you for all the nice points you made.
Thank you, Mataji. It actually reminded me about the Brahmotsav that just happened.
Yes. Working together, and yeah, I mean, just blissful. It was so blissful.
Yeah, it was really nice. I mean, it just immersed those
Mm.
few days was just immersion in the service and
So,
uh, doing it together as you mentioned. So it was really nice. I mean, definitely should be eternally thankful. Whether it is Bhagavatam, whether it is Bhagavad Gita, whether we are celebrating, we are living a temple-centered life, or whether we are trying to understand Dharma as much as possible. To Srila Prabhupada, I mean, we should be eternally thankful. Thank you,
yes.
Mataji. Anybody else? Okay. If there is nothing else to share or comment, we can close the call. Thank you so much for joining today. Have a wonderful Krishna conscious day. वाञ्छाकल्पसरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः अनन्तकोटि वैष्णववृन्द की जय.
Yay.
Thank you.